All right. So yesterday I was watching a Facebook video put out by Mark Ludwig. He is a shared parenting, I guess, expert. He talks to legislators and anyone else who will listen to him about shared parenting. And he talked a little bit about Title 4D. So if any of you don't know, Title 4D is a part of the Social Security Act that helps collect or that helps funds child support collection bureaus or child support enforcement. And we're going to go into it because it's pretty interesting. And if you are a non-custodial parent paying child support and getting raked through the system, well, this is what you're going to want to know about it. So in 1975, under the Social Security Act, it was set up, the program was enacted in 1975 to ensure that children receive financial support from their non-custodial parents. The program is a partnership between federal, state, and local governments and is administered by the Office of Child Support Enforcement under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So that's it in a nutshell. So if we look at the environment, 1975, mother, father, couple of kids. Mother was stay-at-home mom, taking care of everything. Dad was out working. That was pretty much it. If something were to happen and the parents got a divorce, well, the mother really has no way of earning income. So, in order to divorce, the father was probably ordered to pay child support. Now, if the mother was not receiving child support, she had no money coming in, she could go to the state government or local government and apply for welfare. Well, and that's how she would get money. This program was enacted so that the state and federal governments didn't have to supply money to someone out on welfare. Fair enough, right? Why should the government have to pay for somebody when there's someone that could be responsible for paying for them, like the father or anyone under any sort of child support order? So really up to that point, it kind of makes sense. There's nothing really wrong with it. And I don't really see any issues with it. But like any other federal thing out there or entity, over time it will morph and only become more bureaucratic with more layers and become more of a money-sucking entity. And that's exactly what happened. But let's get into the basics of it first before we go into the monster that we look at or have now. So the functions of Title 4D. Locating parents, establishing paternity, establishing child support orders, enforcing child support, modifying orders, and collecting and distributing payments. Okay, so if you're a non-custodial parent and you're ordered to pay child support, it probably will go to the child support for your local child support enforcement bureau. You send a check to them for, let's say, $100. Then they'll take that check, record it, and send it to the custodial parent, and that's it. So they don't get any of the money from child support. They also do not get any money from the Social Security Act. It's just a part of the Social Security Act, but they do not receive money from Social Security. So if your parents are collecting Social Security and you're worried about their Social Security running out because of this, one has nothing to do with the other. So what happens, though, is in order for these local child support bureaus to work, they need to get money for staffing. They need to get money for technology. They need to get money for anything they need to do in order to make this program work. So the federal government reimburses them 66% of every dollar they spend. So if they spend $1,000 tracking down people to pay child support, the federal government gives them $666 to do so, right? 66% of it. Easy peasy. But now we have a system where taxpayers are funding these programs, which I guess, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on, you may not want, right? Like, why do I have to worry about someone not paying their child support? Why do I have to worry about this system altogether? Well, you could say, well, then my tax dollars aren't going towards paying welfare. So either way, your tax dollars are going towards something, and that's an argument for something else. The state governments or local governments are supposed to take this money from the federal government to make their programs work. So it's going to pay for staffing, computers, anything and anything under the sun to make the program work. That's your basic program. Now, there is also a pool of money out there that states can compete for to help their programs run more or to build their programs. So receive performance-based incentive payments for meeting or exceeding federal benchmarks in areas like paternity establishment, child support order establishment, collection of current and past due child support, and cost effectiveness. So now we got states going, wait, I can get more than 66%. I can get more money if I meet these benchmarks. And that's where some more of the problems arise. High-performing states receive larger incentive payments, encouraging continuous improvement. That ChatGPT said that. Poor performance can lead to reduced funding and federal penalties, particularly if a state program falls below national standards. Okay, so now states are building these programs up, providing staffing, more and more stuff. The beast is getting bigger, and well, they can lose money if they don't meet the benchmarks, and well, that's not good. So we have to do things to make sure that our program gets bigger and I get more money for it. And if I get more money for it, then I can make it bigger. And the bigger my program is, and the more I can collect and the more orders I can get, and you can see how this cycle continues. They start feeding it. I worked in schools for about 20 years, and schools are notorious for this as well. They get a budget. Let's just say it's $77 million. Well, the next year, they don't want their budget getting smaller. They only want to get it bigger. So they do things. One, they make sure all their money is spent every year. Because if you have money left over, well, that's not good. Then you don't need as big as budget next year. So they make sure all the money is spent, regardless if you need to spend the money or not. Then they always propose more things to make their budget bigger. And then in the next year, the same thing happens. Well, if we don't spend the money, we lose the money. So let's spend all the money and ask for more money. And this is what states do with these programs. They don't want the programs to get smaller. They don't want to fix the problem. They just want their programs to get bigger because they have to have more jobs, whatever, however this works. It only gets bigger and bigger and it spirals. How the incentive structure works. So states earn federal incentive payments based on performance in 5 key areas. So I'm going to read these right from here. Paternity establishment rate. States are rewarded for establishing legal paternity for children born to unmarried parents. This is a critical step because a child support order cannot be issued without a legal paternity. Legal paternity is right or wrong. It just has to be said to somebody. Child support order establishment. States earn incentives for establishing a formal child support order in many eligible cases as possible. This applies regardless of which parent is ordered to pay support. So no matter what, the more support orders you can issue, the better your chances are of getting more money from the state's point of view. So in my case, me and my ex, we made the same amount of money. And I wanted 50% custody. And I said, well, if we both make the same amount of money and it's 50-50, why should anyone have to pay anything, right? I'll take care of the kids on my time. You take care of the kids on your time. And if there's things that we need to do together, fine. We'll chip in together to do it. But it doesn't happen. So even if I had the kids 50% of the time, they'll make someone pay child support. Doesn't make any sense because the state will get more money on more support orders. So they have no incentive to make things work between these two parents. It's set up now to be adversarial. Someone's getting money regardless. And my lawyers told me it, and I've heard stories before. I have a friend, he's a 50-50. Actually, most of the time, he's got his kids more than 50% of the time, and he's still paying child support. Crazy. States are incentivized to collect a high percentage of current child support owed. This metric only tracks whether support is paid, not which party receives it. Okay? Collection of arrearages. States earn credit for collecting past due child support, encouraging aggressive enforcement of overdue payments. So if you're in arrears, they'll do anything they can to make sure that they get that money. Now, here's kind of like this weird, I guess, hang up in the system or loophole within the system. If you don't make much money, right, and you don't have much in arrears, there's very little incentive to collect it. What's kind of weird is that the people that probably really need the money collected and redistributed out are the ones that they don't go after. So if, a guy's got to pay $3,000 a month in child support and all of a sudden becomes, falls behind, they're going to go after him because his money is probably easier to get. One, he probably has a job that it can get garnished from, versus someone on low income who only pays like $100 a month. Well, who cares? I'm going to go after the big fish and not the little one. That's the way I see it. Also, if you look at a guy who's got to pay a higher support order and you potentially threaten him with jail time, he's more likely to pay. He's got a lot more to lose versus the person who doesn't have much to lose. Put him in jail. Okay, I'll go to jail. What does it matter? And it probably is not even worth it. States must also demonstrate that they collect more in child support than they spend on the program, which only means if I have to order these max child support orders, I want to, because I need to show that I'm actually taking in more money or managing more money than what my program costs to actually do. It's amazing. So this, you could say, unfairly targets middle-class people and higher income people, parties, couples, marriages, whatever it might be. Not cool. I asked ChatGPT, does this favor one parent over the other? And it says the structure of the Title IV-D program is neutral. It is focused on ensuring the financial support reaches the child. However, in most cases, child support is paid by the non-custodial parent, the parent who does not have primary custody. To the custodial parent, the parent probably has primary physical custody. This reflects the practical reality that the custodial parent bears most of the day-to-day costs of raising a child. Okay. Yeah, right? It doesn't. But who ends up using to be the non-custodial parent? Father. Why? I don't know. Stuck in an old system. So that's Title IV-D in a nutshell, right? So federal government says we don't want to be paying for people on welfare. We want to minimize that cost, especially if it's due to divorce. So we need the states and the local governments to basically enforce this so that the populace as a whole doesn't have to pay for welfare. Okay, fair enough. Here are the things that you need to do. We're going to help you. It's reimburse you 66% of every dollar you spend on doing this program. But we're going to give you an incentive to make sure your program really runs. And the states take it, run with it to make their programs bigger, better, and collect more money to get more of this money from the federal government. Some people have a problem with it. I ran across a tweet from Leah Cushman from New Hampshire. She's a former state senator, mother, right? She said the Trump administration is ordering an audit to see how many Title IV-D cases are improperly targeting middle and high income families for which Title IV-D is not intended. The more child support contracts, the more Title IV funds to the family court and its federal contractors. In our presentation earlier this week, New Hampshire Family Justice showed that this was happening. Of course it's happening. If you have people making a ton of money and going through a divorce, you want to make sure that you go and through and order more child support cases, orders. Because the bigger your program, the more money your program's managing, the more money you're going to get from the federal government. They have no incentive to say, this divorce is happening, 50-50 custody, 50-50 shared parenting, and you guys make the same amount of money. Boom, no child support. No incentive for that. None. This program wasn't meant to create child support orders for people making over $100,000 a year, $60,000 a year. It was to make sure that the custodial parent did not end up on welfare. In my situation, my ex, she's living over here in $1 million house. My kids are not on welfare. They will not be on welfare anytime soon. But yet, I got to pay. And if I don't pay, could go to jail. Amazing. So Leah Cushman, basically this came out because DOGE is now looking into this Title 4D program. But what it's looking at, right? So Washington Post did a story, and there's some resistance to this because DOGE seeks access to sensitive federal income database. Musk's team clashed with civil servants over data access kept at the health department to track child support. All right, so it's a data that people worried about. The database includes nearly all U.S. workers' earnings information. Access is restricted to authorized entities for specific purposes. So, like, not everyone can get this data, but DOGE wants this data to basically go in and look at cases where someone going on welfare is not going to happen. If it sees that both parents are making a ton of money, well, then someone's not going on welfare. We don't need to issue a support order for that, which means then we don't need to order a support order for that, and we don't need to go after people for collecting support. Then these organizations, this Child Support Enforcement Bureau, doesn't need to be so big, and if it doesn't need to be so big, we don't have to give it money. Easy peasy. And that's what Leah Cushman's looking at. That's what Mark Ludwig is wanting. They're wanting DOGE to look in to see if the program is necessary in a lot of the cases that the courts are ordering it to be necessary. And if it's finding it's not, then the funding could get cut, which means then the programs are also probably de-incentivized. And there we go. That's my take on it. And I believe that's all right. Now, are there nuances to it? Sure. That I missed something? Probably. But that's kind of what we're looking at. Right now, under this current system, the states have no incentive to make sure that the parents are working together to make sure that their kids are getting the best result. Notice in any of this, no one really talked about the kids or what's in best interest of the kids, right? Where? It's not incentivized for it. We need this to kind of happen. Because if the states don't have the incentive to issue all these support orders, to start imprisoning guys or women and doing all this, they're going to just say, well, if we don't have the money to collect all this stuff and enforce it, guess what? 50-50. See you later. Fund the kids on your own time. That's it. Done. Maybe divorces would happen less. Maybe we wouldn't have these family courts loaded up with all this nonsense, or one parent trying to seek all this money, when in the end, they're probably not going to get it. So, I don't know. That's my take on it. I think I might do more stories like this. I might do this. I like this. I have my coffee here and all these papers. Subscribe and like, comment. Tell me what you think. If I'm wrong on some of this, let me know. If I'm right and you want to hear more, let me know. It's kind of interesting stuff when you get down into it. But and the more information that we know, that people know, we can go out and intelligently talk to other people regarding this, to people that possibly can help change this. The other day when I went into this, I thought that was my way. But now reading some of this stuff, it's not that difficult to understand. Most people, I think, we can get into the direction where they can understand it and hopefully get people in office that will make the difference, or get people to talk to people in the office that will make a difference. DOGE is not looking at individual cases, by the way. They're not looking at like my case or your case or anyone else's. They don't care. They're looking at numbers and they want that data. And people worried about it, who knows? Government's watching anything. If there's anything else I missed, let me know. You anything you want me to talk about? Hey, I'll talk about it. I'm all ears. I think that's how I say it. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.